Opens doors that I cannot see. Jesus will. Jesus will. Will make all my decisions for me. Jesus will. Jesus will. Who opens doors, say, who opens doors that I cannot see. Jesus will. Jesus will. Who will make all my decisions? Will make all for me. My decisions. Yes, He will. For me. Jesus will. Jesus will. Yes, He will. Jesus will. Yes, He will. Jesus will. Come on, everybody, say it with us. When I'm in trouble, when I'm in trouble, He gives me a song. And in the night season, and all day long, oh, then who makes me do right? Who makes me do right? When I went to oh, yeah. Jesus will. He will. Come on, give me a swag, everybody. Say, oh yeah. Jesus will. Jesus will. I know He will because He said He will. Jesus, I know He will. He said He will. He'll fight my battle. If I keep still. I know He will. Come on, everybody say, oh yeah. I know He will because He said He will. All right, I see y'all out there bobbing your head. That's Wilson. Hello and welcome everyone. Listen, Jesus will fight your battles. He can heal your body. He can give you comfort. He can give you peace. He can provide. And on today, we're going to talk about how he can provide you a home in his timing. Listen, y'all, welcome everyone to Winning Wednesday here at Birmingham Bible Church Worldwide. We are so honored that you have joined us here on today. We are super excited that you are here with us. This is a great time of the week. We love it because we are able to give you some exciting information, some educational information. Sometimes we bring y'all some fun topics, but everything is for our lives and for our living. And so today is no different. We have some folks on here today, guys, who is going to tell you how you can win at home, to win in this area of your life as well. You need more space within God's grace. And so please do us a favor. Make sure you share this broadcast. You can tag somebody. So if you're on Facebook, the little @ put their name, living my life like it's Golden Mason, whatever their name is, you can text them. You can tell them about the broadcast. Of course, we're around 7 o'clock-ish. And so people can look at it again as well. But just make sure you share this information. We all want to know about this. Somebody needs to know about this. And so on today, we are talking about home ownership. How can we achieve it? What do I need to do? Do I have to put some money down? What are my options? How do I get started? So many things. And so we have some important people here on today who's going to answer all of your questions. So if you are particularly looking on our Facebook pages and also on our YouTube page, I can see your questions. So our YouTube page is BHAM BC. And then on our Facebook page, we are BHAM Bible, formerly known as the Church of the Way International. That's long, but it's BHAM Bible Church, formerly known as the Church of the Way International. So I can look at your questions there and we can get them answered at the appropriate time. So of course, I'm going to give way to Brandi Feagin. She is broker, owner of Posh Realty, and she also brought with her Justin, who can also, he can tell us about the home lending part, the money, because that's what it takes. It takes money to do this. But Brandi was on here last year. She did such a phenomenal job. And so last year when we talked, she was working with someone that we knew, and now she has her own. So praise God for that. So she is the owner of Posh Realty. So she's going to come on and she's going to present just the great information that she always does. So, hey, Brandi, how are you?
Hey, Lady Pam, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for coming on here today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no. I'm grateful for you even inviting me back again this year. So I'm super excited about being here. I'm super excited about my phenomenal guest that's going to talk about the financing part of it. But we're excited, and thank you again for having me.
Appreciate you as well, because it ain't free. That, God can give us something free, but more than likely you have to go through the process. And so thank you for joining us today and telling us what the process is and all of that. So I'm gonna give way to y'all. However y'all want to start and begin is fine with me.
Okay. All right. So welcome everybody again. I am Brandi Feagin, the broker owner of Posh Realty and Company. I have Justin Lyles with me today. He is a phenomenal loan officer with guaranteed rate. I'm going to start out just by talking about the process of homeownership and some things that you could do to get started to become a homeowner. And then Justin will talk more about the financing options. We may piggyback a little bit here and there. But the first thing that you guys want to do in owning a home is first get with someone that's knowledgeable, right? Whether, a professional, a real estate professional, someone like myself, or if you have your favorite realtor, definitely reach out to them because there's a lot of information that's out there. A lot of times people listen to family members that bought a home last year, 10 years ago, whatever the case may be. But your situation is unique to you, as theirs was unique to them. And things change, right? We know that, I'm going to tell my age, gas was 97 cents at one point, and now it's $4, right? So as time goes on, things change. And that is the same for purchasing a home. Someone bought a house during COVID for an interest rate of what, 2 and 3%, right? And today the rates are what, Justin?
6.
Completely different, right? So now it's costing more than it did then to buy a house. So someone who bought a house during COVID time, you're not going to get that same type of thing, right? So I said it's very important to sit down with a real estate professional and have a consultation with them to talk specifically about your situation, right? So then once you do that, and in that conversation, that consultation is what we call them, is that you're going to analyze, or that realtor is going to analyze, which I hope is me.
It will be.
We're going to analyze. So I'm going to talk today as if it's me, right?
That's right.
So when you reach out to me and set up a consultation, what we're going to do is analyze your needs, right? We're going to talk about credit score because there's no sense in me sending you to Justin for pre-approval if your score is a 500, right? So we're going to talk about some ways to get you higher because we want you to be at least a 620 or greater to be able to qualify. And again, Justin will dig more into that. But as I'm sitting with you and analyzing your needs, that's just going to be particularly to you. If you tell me, hey, well, my score is, if you know what your score is, and let me just say this, not your Credit Karma score, because Credit Karma is not accurate. A lot of us has that app and it's only showing us 2 credit bureaus, right? So it's not showing us that third one. So we're not getting the full story of what your credit score is. So that's not going to be accurate. So if it says 800, that's not your real credit score, okay? So we're going to dig deep into that, but I can point you in some ways to get your credit where it needs to be so that when you get to Justin, he can then direct you and let you know what you qualify for, and things like that. Your buying power is what they call that. But first we need to sit down and analyze that. We need to say, okay, what area do you want to be in? Where are you comfortable in making a payment? And we're going to have some realistic conversations. Buying a house, I know, on social media, you see the end result, right? The happy part, the closing, all of those things, but it's a journey to get there sometimes. And we want to make sure that it's your journey. We want to make sure that we're going about it the right way and we're not just out here doing anything to get you, into your house. So we're going to talk about your needs, your wants in that consultation, right? So once we sit down and talk about your needs and your wants, and if your credit score is 620 or greater, then I'm going to say, hey, let's go ahead and get with Justin. Let's see what you can qualify for. in some instances, we may already send you to Justin because you may not know, right? And so Justin does a very good job of saying, okay, if you do X, Y, Z, then in 6 months, you'll be able to qualify for a house. The key is that you got to do the work, right? We can tell you all day long what you need to do, but it's going to be up to you to do that in order for you to be able to purchase a house, okay? And you're going to have to follow those steps exact in order to get there. And life is happening, right? We understand that, car breakdown, now you got to go buy a car because you got to get to work, because you got to work to pay for the house. So that may set you back a little bit, but I like to tell people is never a no. It just may be not a right now. Okay. And then we will definitely work with you and stick with you until the end, and making sure and holding you accountable and doing those things that you need to do. Because sometimes that's the hard part, right? We see people on social media buying house left and right, and why not me? Why not me? But they had work that they had to do to get there too. And so again, you want to get with good professionals that's going to hold you accountable to get to the end goal, which is homeownership. Okay. So again, in that consultation, we're going to analyze the needs, your wants, just get to know each other. I'm real big on building rapport and building relationships with people that I'm working with, right? And that's the beauty of what we do. And you purchasing a home, you can choose who you want to work with. Work with somebody that you connect with, that has your best interest at heart. And so when we're doing that, that's another thing that we're doing. We're getting to know each other. I'm getting to know you and why you're doing this, because that's important. It could be, hey, I want to get in a better home school system area, a good area so my kid can go to a better school system. It could be, hey, I've never seen anybody in my family purchase a house and I want to be the first one, right? So I need to know what motivates you. But within that too, there are some things, hurdles, I like to call them, that we have to get through, right? So right now on this podcast, we're in a perfect world scenario right now. Purchasing a home is not perfect world, is not a cake in the wall. It's a process that you have to do, that you have to trust. But as we're going through this, everything will sound pretty simple. But the first step is obviously, like I said, finding a realtor. Then you're going to start getting out, looking at houses once we get the pre-approval letter from Justin. And eventually what's going to happen is that we're going to see houses and you're going to eventually walk into one that's going to be the one. And you'll know it, right? You'll know, hey, this is it. And then you'll say, hey, Brandi, this is the house that I want to make an offer on. Okay. And that's what we'll do. We'll make an offer on that property. And an offer is just an offer. That doesn't mean that the seller's going to accept it. They can either accept it, decline it, or counter it. Okay. But again, we're going to make sure that they accept that offer. And at that time where we're writing that offer, I'm writing it based on your needs and what you can qualify for, and what, if you need down payment, if you need closing costs and things of that nature. So that's going to be geared toward each individual person at that time. But again, perfect world, that offer has been accepted. Now we're under contract. Okay, so now nobody else can come in and get this house because you have it under contract. And so here's 3 things once we go under contract that I want you to write down, because there's some upfront money that you're going to need once we get under contract. And let me just go back a little bit. We hear people talk about, first time homeowners, and, I want to qualify. Can I qualify for that? And all these different things. You possibly can, but you need to have some money to buy a house. You can't go into this thing with $0 in the bank account. And it's just not possible, right? You shouldn't even want to, really, so there's going to be some upfront money. You don't pay me as the realtor. My commission comes from the seller for bringing you, but there are things that you're going to need in order to move forward, to get to that closing line, to the end of that purchasing this home. And the first thing is that once we go into contract, you're going to have earnest money. And what earnest money is essentially a deposit of good faith, saying, hey, Mr. Seller, here's $1,000, whatever the case may be. $1,000, I'm serious about buying your house. Earnest money is essentially a deposit. So if you're in a rental right now, when you rented that apartment, you put a deposit down. If you stay within the terms of that lease, meaning that you don't tear up the walls, the kids don't write on them, all those things, you get that deposit back at the end, right? So same thing, earnest money is the same thing or similar. You don't get it back in your hand, physical money. It goes toward the loan. Okay. Lady Pam, am I still there? It's showing my internet was a little unstable.
Yeah, you still hear, it was sounding kind of fuzzy, but I still hear you. So I did have a question. What's the
Sure.
typical amount for the earnest money? You mentioned 1,000. Is that's kind of the range, what it's in, or?
Yeah, and it's basically just going to depend on the price of the house, right? So,
Okay.
I always try to say, hey, let's just give 1,000. Some people do 500. Some people do none, right? But it doesn't give you good skin in the game if you don't do
Right.
any. Now, if you're in that 300,000, 400,000 on up range, you may want to give a little bit more, right? Just to say, hey, I'm serious about buying this house. And that helps make the offer a little bit more competitive versus someone that's giving $500 or $1,000. But again, it's going to be geared toward that person's situation, that price of the house. But a good earnest money is about $1,000.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the first thing you need, at least $1,000. Now, again, this is upfront money. So before you even start the process, you want to have this money saved. We deliver the earnest money. And then after that, we have to get a home inspection. Now, Justin, as the loan officer, does not care about this home inspection, but I do as the realtor. And the reason why is because Alabama is a buyer beware state. Okay. And what that means is that whatever you want to know as the buyer, we have to do our due diligence to find out. So the sale of the house is always contingent on the home inspection. So I tell people this is going to be the best $350, $400 that you ever spent your money on, because it's going to tell you the story of the house. So you want to know. So if that house, that inspector goes out, we get the report, the foundation's bad, the roof is bad, the plumbing, all these things are bad, especially these big ticket items, you may want to walk away from the house, right? We do have the opportunity to ask the seller to fix those. But again, they may not. But if you don't get that home inspection, you'll never know. And then now you're into that house and everything starts to break down.
Yeah.
And then you calling me and I'm like, well, I told you to get a home inspection. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a home inspection, like I said, will run you somewhere between $350 to $500. I mean, $400, or $325 to $400. And that's also going to be based on the size of the house. Okay. The inspector goes by square footage. So right now you're at about, on high end, $1,400. Right now today, if you were to buy a house, you would need that plus a little bit more. And so the way like I said, the home inspection works is that the sale of the house is contingent on that home inspection. So if it's bad, you can walk away. You can ask the seller to make some repairs. Now the seller has the right to say, I'll fix all of this, I'll fix none of this, or I'll fix ABC. All right. Now you then turn around and have the right to say, okay, well, I'll move forward with purchasing the house. Or you can say, hey, I'm just going to walk away. You're going to be out of the inspection money, but you'll get the earnest money back. Okay. Because it's for a job that's already been rendered, the home inspection piece is. But again, had you not spent that money, you would have never known that this house was in, because there are a lot of things that we could see physically with the eye, but the inspector is going to inspect the house from top to bottom. And he's going to point out every single thing. Okay. Any questions?
Oh, no, that's good, because what you don't want to do is get into a house and then stuff just starts breaking down.
Right.
And then you're going to be out more money.
For sure, for sure. And
Yeah,
we do, there are other things that we put in place as well. Like I'll encourage you to get a home warranty. So in the event that you do move in, the water heater goes out day 3, now you're covered because you got that home warranty. The company is either gonna replace that or repair it if they can. But those are some things that we will definitely put in place. The beauty of it all as well is we can ask the seller to provide that for you for the first year. Okay. But we're going to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed when it comes to you purchasing this house, to get every inspection, everything that we could get to make sure that when you move in, you're in good shape. Okay. So that's the inspection. And then once we sit down and have our initial consultation, when you're ready, we can dig deep into, how that's going to look and all those things. But the next step would be ordering the appraisal. Okay. So this is where I reach out to Justin and I say, hey, we've gotten past home inspection. Seller's going to fix everything. We're good. He will then order the appraisal, for the appraiser to go out. Now, this will run you somewhere between $5 to $550, somewhere.
I would even say 5 to 8. And the only reason I say 5 to 8 is lately I've seen sometimes the appraisers, because the appraiser drives that price. And so the appraiser, sometimes lately they've been, hey, I'll go do it, but I want a little bit more. So you're starting to see more inflation there.
Okay.
But to your point, still, it's possible to say 5.
Yeah, I've seen them about $550 at the highest. So right now with the appraiser, with the earnest money home inspection appraisal, you're looking at about roughly $2,000, $2,500 right now to buy a house. Okay, and that's again upfront, and that happens fast. So per the contract, earnest money is delivered within 3 days. We have 5 to 7 days to get the home inspection. Once we get past home inspection, then we're going to move forward with ordered appraisal. So you're probably at about week 2 at that point. Okay. Now, if we don't get past the home inspection, then you don't have to pay for the appraisal. Obviously, we're starting from scratch to go find you a new house. That's right. So what happens when the appraiser goes out, he's going to tell us what the real value of that house is. We're under contract for $200,000. He's going to tell us if this house is worth exactly $200,000, if this house is worth more than $200,000, or if this house is worth less than $200,000. Okay. And whatever he tells us, so if he tells us it's worth 200, we're good, right? If he tells us it's worth 250, you're actually great, because now you have $50,000 of instant equity. Right now, I'm just using numbers. Like, don't take these numbers out. These are just, I'm just throwing numbers out there. Don't say Brandi said it's gonna be worth 50,000 more. But it can happen. I mean, I've actually had it happen before, that somebody's house was worth that much more than what they paid for it. So, but the appraiser can also tell us that the house is worth 150, right? So at that point, we have a $50,000 difference, because Justin's only going to give you what the house is worth, which is 150 at that point. So then what we do, we go back to the seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, we're under contract for 200. Your house isn't worth 200. It's only worth 150,000 per the appraiser. Are you willing to drop the price to that, right? Mr. Seller can say no. Mr. Seller can say yes. But if he says no, then we're not going to expect you to bring $50,000 to the table, because basically, essentially what you're doing at that point is paying $50,000 more than what a house is worth.
Right.
And it just ain't worth it. So at that point, what we do is we walk away. Okay. Now I'm using drastic numbers here, but things like this do happen all the time, where the house doesn't appraise for where we're under contract. Now, as realtors, we do our very best in trying to price these houses right, or how we think the appraiser will see it based on what we call comparables, meaning homes that have sold in the area that's comparable to this particular house. But an appraisal is, what the appraiser is feeling that day, basically.
Right.
And so that's something that we cannot control. The lender, none of us can control that, right? But again, in a perfect world here, that appraisal comes back at 215. Okay, so we're under contract for 200, comes over at 215, and then now you're $15,000. You're paying less for a house than what it's worth, and that's the position that you want to be in. Okay, you either want to be right at the value or higher than the value. Okay, so after that, things start to slow down on our end, as far as what's, us having to get all these different inspections done. Some behind the scene things are happening now. Title is pulling the title, making sure that there are no liens or no judgments or anything that's attached to that home that will need to be satisfied before it's conveyed over to you as the new owner. Closing department, they're doing things. You're working with Justin now, really one-on-one a lot at this point, making sure that the underwriter has what they need and different things like that to make sure that we can get to the closing table within the time frame that's allotted on that contract. And then once all those things are done, we get the inspector back out to make sure that the repairs have been done. And then we actually go to the closing table. And what to expect at the closing table would be pretty much just to be there about 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, sometimes less. It just depends on how much paperwork, timing, and all that stuff there. And it's basically just documents that the lender has already sent to you that you signed electronically over to you, and the property then becomes yours. Okay. But it doesn't end there for me, or I can speak for Justin in saying this, because we'll be there every step of the way. I still have clients calling me, I've been doing this since 2015, and people still call and say, hey, this happened, or what can I do about this, or what, whatever the case may be. Like, we're there every step of the way in that process. So I know I made it sound super easy here, but that's the gist of the process, right? Of what that step by step of what that homeownership looks like. Again, it's going to be unique to each individual person, but there are some other things as far as financing is concerned that I'll let Justin talk about a little bit. He'll talk about interest rates and some different types of loans that you can get as far as FHA, conventional, USDA, things like that. The more fun stuff. But yeah, so Justin will dig into that. Justin, you want to start?
For sure. So first, I'll just say I totally agree with everything that you just positioned. And I'm a little different. I'm gonna start with a story.
I was gonna say start with the story, because Brandi told me about the story a little bit, and I love stories.
I love stories too.
Yeah.
There was a guy I know. He in 2013 he purchased a home. 2017 he lost a home. Was homeless for about 3 years. Purchased the property in September, I believe, of 2020, and then was without a job. So now you got concerns of, man, am I going to lose the house again? But he had money saved, paid the mortgage up for a few months, got a new job, kept on trucking. The first house he bought in 2013 that he lost that house. And when he purchased it in 2013, he purchased it at $135,000. So there's some notable things to write down for this story. In 2013, he purchased that home for $135,000. In 2017, he lost it and the bank foreclosed on it, and an investor purchased it for $90,000. And then in 2021, that same property was sold for $220,000 in 2021. And that same guy, he purchased a brand new house in 2020 that in 2020, he purchased that house in September, lost his job, got a new job. And then now today, that same house is worth about $150,000 more than when he bought it in 2020.
Wow.
All right, so why did I just tell this story? All right. First of all, that guy was me. I lost the house, the cars, all of the stuff. Homeless for 3 years with a family of 5. Very uncomfortable, a lot of ebbs and flows, highs and lows. And along the way, when you're fighting for a better today, there's still challenges. There's always going to be obstacles. Who cares? You overcome the obstacles. Right. And that's what we did. We overcame the obstacle, got a new house. And before you even had time to celebrate, the company I was working for was bought out by another company. And so now I'm without a job. But thank God we had money saved, paid that up, and the rest has been, like I said, history. Now, a couple things to kind of make mention to in that story. I love a note taker, so if anybody's listening, just write this stuff down. The first thing that most people do is they tell you, I want to get to Disney World. All right, so you drop that pin on the map. Cool. It's impossible for me to tell you left or right or 100 yards, 100 feet. I can't tell you if I don't know where you are. And most people try to hide the where we are part, unfortunately, for whatever reason. And so that's why I always start with my story, because I know it's uncomfortable. You don't normally walk on the street and tell somebody, you know, I got $100 in my savings account. Here's my social security number. I work here. I've been working there for 5 years. Here's my driver's license. You just don't normally do it. So it's uncomfortable. I understand that. But let's push past the discomfort and just be a little transparent, at least with me. I'm not saying do this with everybody, but when I meet you, just shoot it to me straight, because we're going to find out anyway.
Right.
The essence of lending is it is risk-based lending. How risky is it to loan you this money? When you were in school, the teacher would ask you to solve the problem. And you say the answer is 72. Okay, prove it. How do we get there? You got to prove it to. All right, so once you prove it, okay, great, go sit down. Well, it's the same in lending. If you put on the application, you made $1 million last year. I'm not doubting you. I just need you to prove it with paperwork. You cannot prove it. It's a problem. As I go to dig, and if I find out more things that you didn't voluntarily tell me, part where you had an initial approval, and then you can be bumped down to a different kind of approval where it's just harder to get across that finish line. So that's the story I wanted to lead with. Now let's go with some tangible things. All right, this is our turn-by-turn directions, if you will. I know you want to get to Disney World. Disney World is keys to your new home. All right, great. Where you are is you want to get there. So I'm assuming you do not have a home right now, or you have a home, you want to sell it and buy a new one. The first thing that we need, the first set of directions is going to be employment. All right, where do you work? How do you make money? Can you prove it on paper? All right, we typically want to see a 2-year history of that. Typically, it doesn't matter whether that's self-employed or employed. We need a 2-year history. If you start adding layers on top of that, Justin, I have a primary job, but I also have a second job. Well, I need 2 years on the primary, 2 years on the secondary. I'm self-employed. I need 2 years on the 2 years. Not, you know, Brandi hired me on the side and she been just can't use it. If you're self-employed and you wrote off all of your income so you didn't have to pay the IRS. Again, I appreciate the ingenuity, but you've now shortened your income, and so whatever you show the IRS you have as income is what we're going to use as income. So if you made $100,000 last year, but you have to owe the IRS, your income is 30 grand. So when you go to buy that dream home, I'm giving you unfortunate news that we can't do it. Or we're going to go with a different type of program. All right. The second step on this journey to Disney World is it's going to be credit, by way of credit score. Brandi made mention to Credit Karma. Most people give Credit Karma a bad rep. They're not terrible, okay? No. It's just they only give you your raw score. That's all. They don't give you the filter attached to your application based on the product you applied for. A filter based on how many people applied for a product like this that have a credit scenario like you do. How did they fare if they were approved? That's how they judge your credit score. Look at it best, in my opinion, on myfico.com. I'm not sponsoring them. They didn't pay me. That's just my experience saying I've seen myfico.com give some of the best, most accurate results. They will give you your FICO scores for any product type you're applying for: credit card, car loan, home purchase, personal loan. That's why when you went to the dealership, they told you you had an 800 and you drove off. But when you went to Best Buy to get the TV, they said, "Ma'am, can you get back next?" You know, it's that, you know, because there's a different filter. So myfico.com would be a great resource, in my opinion. It's not free though. Yes.
What's the FICO score which number I guess they should be looking at to purchase a home? Okay,
I'm gonna cheat a little bit on that answer. I'm gonna say, for those of you who have kids, you do not want your kids to graduate high school with a D. You want them to have an A.
That's right.
There's a period at the end of that sentence. So we can dumb it down to a 580. Technically, it's the minimum that you can go to for most programs. Some programs will actually allow you to go lower than that, but you got to pay a whole lot more money out of pocket. So to Brandi's point, you really want to shoot for a target of like 620. Me personally, I tell people 640. 640 will typically qualify you for most of your programs. You do have some other programs, like some of your professional programs or builder deals or nurses stuff that
teachers.
Well, those are actually help you. But if you're going for like somebody says, I want to build my forever home, you really need more like a 700 credit score or higher. So that's why I say, I don't know, I'm turning over a new leaf this year. Let's reach for more. We don't have to always discount it or lessen it or whatever. If your scenario fits that where, hey, Justin, I have to move right now. Can you help me even though my score isn't there? Absolutely. Right. I did. Brandi did. Let's put the work in. It's not going to hurt you to save more. It's not going to hurt you to graduate high school with an A. It's just better as a scenario. But yes, we can take lower. We can take lower credit scores. We can take, a jumbled up jungle gym and make it make those cricket places straight, if you will. So yes, we can. But myfico.com will kind of tell that story for you. It'll kind of illuminate where you are, because again, that's what we're doing now. So that's step 2. It's not free for what you're trying to accomplish. On that journey, when you find out what their score is, they will also tell you the factors impacting your score. It's basically the secret sauce to why your score is what it is. All right. That's very great tangible information to drive you higher. So that's a good place to start. Step 3 on the journey to get to Disney World would be your credit report. What's on the credit report? Student loans, personal loans. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people with $800-900 credits. Car payment.
Wow.
But no house yet.
Yeah.
If you get the house first, I guarantee you can still go get the car. But if you get the car first, I don't know if you can get the house still.
Wow.
Get the house first. Get the house first. Again, that same guy on that story, I was driving a 2003 Ford Taurus, grandma edition, like, the long one, the silver with the front seat. You can let the thing up and put a child in front. Keep that on, baby. That one.
Yeah.
I was driving in that car, and I could tell, my partners didn't want to ride with me. My wife didn't want to ride with me. But I literally pulled up to a bus stop one day on Center Point Parkway by the donut shop. I don't know if you know what that is. And I was a little frustrated that day. It was raining, and I was like, man, I wish I had this Tahoe that's sitting next to me. And as I was thinking that, I looked to the right, and there was a lady waiting for the bus right there, and it's raining. And I instantly was like, okay, shut up. Just keep driving. I'm in a car,
That's right.
And it was, I did not have a car note. I paid $1,200 for that car. I needed something to get me to and fro. Kind of had our stuff in it too, so it was uncomfortable anyway. But he got us where we needed to get to. Fast forward to now, I got a truck, and thank God for it. I don't know how I ever drove anything other than a truck, but there was a process to it. There was a journey to it. You can't shy away from that part. You can enjoy it if you choose to. So that would be step 3. What's on the credit report? We qualify you for a dollar amount on your home purchase based on your debt to income ratio. You'll hear that as an acronym, which is DTI. And we focus on the percentage that debt to income ratio will tell us. We look at your total gross monthly income. All right. So that's all of the money that you make monthly before taxes and insurance comes out. All of them. If you make the money that month, tell us about it so we can determine whether or not we can use it. Self-employment, employment, child support, Social Security, alimony, dividends from stocks, Bitcoin, you name it. If it's coming in, determine if we can use it. And then after we add all of that up, now we got to take away whatever you're paying monthly on your debt. So if you say, well, Justin, I have a credit card with a $20,000 balance. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. But we're looking at the monthly payment you make on that 20 grand. Mm-hmm. Well, my payment is $250. Okay, that's what we compute. That's what we add to the equation. And then we add all of that up, and then we divide that total number by your gross monthly income. It gives you a decimal if you put it in your calculator. It may say 0.25. Well, your debt to income ratio is 25%. Now, that's called your front end debt to income. But front end just simply means before the mortgage is added on top of it. Mm-hmm. Now, when we add the mortgage on top of it, we look at the loan amount times the interest rate, adding on top of that taxes and insurance, and then we divide that over time, and that's how we calculate a monthly payment. Well, we add that monthly payment on top of those existing debts, and then we do it again. We divide it by the gross monthly income. And then if we see where it gives us 0.768953. Well, your DTI now is 76%. That's way too high. 70% of it is going toward monthly debts. That's unacceptable.
Wow.
What is acceptable? Why is step 3 so important? It tells us how much you may qualify for. Well, we look at the program. Each program would tell us you can program with a maximum debt to income percentage. Most of them are going to have a standard of like 43, 45. FHA will go to 57. If you're a veteran, you served in the military, it technically doesn't have a maximum, but most of your lenders will set one based on, again, the risk associated with it. But what you should write down for step 3 is your credit report, your monthly expenses toward debt, your debt to income ratio, which is DTI, in deference to your gross monthly income. All right. And then step 4 is going to be money saved. Mm-hmm. Money saved. Money saved is going to help you with the upfront costs that Brandi talked about. Those upfront costs are essentially appraisal, earnest money, home inspection, things of that nature. And like she said, it could be about $2,000 or so or more of upfront money. So that means today is Wednesday. You and Brandi went out hunting for properties because you're going to use Brandi.
That's right.
You went hunting for properties. You found a property. Seller said, yes, I'll sell you that home. Congratulations. You signed on the dotted line. They signed on the dotted line. And I want to overly exaggerate the fact that you are now in a, it is no longer this my homeboy, friend, partner. This is business. Mm-hmm. They are expecting you to honor your word. Your word says, I will purchase this home from you for $200,000 within 30 days. And they are expecting you to meet that obligation. They're expecting that you already have all of those 4 steps together. Mm-hmm. Not, I'm working on it. Mm-hmm. I hope to get there within 30 days. Right. You already have it together. And if you do, congratulations, you just bought a home. Well, that happened today, Wednesday. Well, the first thing Brandi's going to need from you is, I need a check. I need a check for your earnest money. Let's go ahead and order the inspection. This is Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We're not talking, well, I got under contract today and I'll get it to you next week. No, today I need you to be working on furnishing those funds. Mm-hmm. So I can't stress that part enough. The other piece that you would need is, for some of your programs, you will typically have a down payment required. We call this your skin in the game. The average sale price right now, well, I don't want to even just say average sale price. The average sale price for the home you may have an appetite for.
Okay.
You might see on Facebook or Realtor or whatever that you're like, all right, that's nice. If not more.
If not more, yeah.
And again, that's going to be depending on location.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
The area that you want to be in.
Right.
How do you want to move in ready? Do you want a fixer-upper, all
Yes.
those things are going to determine that as
We
well.
did that story I told you. 2013, I bought it for 135. To date myself also, when I was a kid, you can get a Snicker bar for like 30, 40 cents.
She really not that old.
I'm not, I'm 36, but when I was a kid,
Right.
you get it for 35 cents. That's just what it was. You can get the big boy for 60 cents, maybe
Right.
85 cents at the. This is before Walmart had Walmart Super Center. There wasn't a Walmart. Walmart. Then you can get it for like 85 cents. The king size, where it was truly
Yeah,
station.
you're
And it's
right.
not that big. It
Right.
fits in my hand. It's not that big. Well, everything else did that too. In 2013, I bought it in Winchester Hills in Pinson, Alabama. I bought that home for 135.
Mhm.
Exact same. My wife is also a realtor, and we went into that house in 2021 when it was on the market for nostalgic reasons, just so we could cry and sing Kumbaya. Well, when I walked in it, the house looks exactly the same. They did absolutely nothing to that home. Other than they rented that home out for 5 years while we were away, and then they sold it. And they sold it for $220. $220. And they bought it for 90. So they made over $100 grand.
Yes.
I just thank God that he redeemed something else for me, because I was sore about it at one point, because I missed that opportunity in my mind. Well, my home now is worth $150,000 more than when I bought it in September of 2020. But do you really think that I'm gonna sell it today for less just because you said, hey, can you give me a discount?
Right.
Absolutely not. You need to be prepared to purchase that home for top dollar because you want it. And if you want it, someone else wants it.
Right.
So what does that look like? How much do I need to have saved, Justin? What are you talking? Give me numbers. Because we don't have to go around just telling people wishes. We can tell people specifics of where we are. Somebody asks you what you're doing in Publix. How is life going? Oh, I'm trying to buy me a house. But you don't even know the steps to take to get there.
Right.
I'm giving you the blueprint right now. If you were to buy that home, let's say it was a $200,000 home. More times than not, you're going to have a down payment required. And that down payment is going to be a percentage of the sale price. All right. Some of your standard programs will require on the high side, like 3.5% down. So 3.5. So if you type in your calculator, 200,000 times 3.5, hit the percent sign and hit equal. You're going to get $7,000. That's your down payment. That down payment is due. In that same scenario, Brandi found you a house today. Now, she did her job. She was excellent at it. She found you a home that you said you wanted. You dreamt about it. God, you even told me God told you to get it. Great. Let's rock.
Right.
Well, now you need that $7,000 in 30 days. You really needed it up front, because by the time, if I gave you a pre-approval letter, that's because I already saw you had at least that down payment saved. All right. And then anytime you negotiate the purchase or sale of real estate, you will have closing costs, even if you bought it cash. If you bought a house cash, you're still going to have closing costs because you're going to have to pay a title company and an attorney. All right. You're going to have to pay, well, you should get insurance even if you bought it cash, but you typically going to have that too. So what would closing costs look like on a $200,000 house? Well, it's purely a guesstimate. But you're typically going to have, I would say, around 8,000 in closing costs. That might be high, but I want it to be high. I want you to budget for high. I want you to budget for worst case so you're prepared. So if you add those two up, that's about 15, maybe even 16,000 out of pocket to purchase that $200,000 home. Do you have that much saved? This man is crazy. That I hope nobody logged off the live.
No, we have some to actually join.
I know I scared you, but this is just me giving you 2 + 2 is 4. I have yet to give you my opinion. I have yet to tell you that it's not possible. I'm just simply telling you, when I do the math, 2 + 2 is 4. If it's not somewhere across town, I've never been over there, so I don't know. But 2 + 2 is 4.
Right.
Now that we know the game plan, we got those 4 things out of the way. Now we can talk vision, we can talk strategy, we can talk implementation. How do we go about accomplishing this goal? Well, the first thing would just be save the money. I'm sorry to be so direct, but save the money.
Right.
I know you got it because you got a Louis bag on your arm. Went to see Usher last summer.
Or Beyonce.
Or Beyonce, or both. I know you got the money. We're
Right.
not talking, do we have prom season just ended and the proms were again, not to date myself. Prom for me was we slapped a nice
Exactly.
little on.
Right.
Right.
We rode with somebody.
It ain't like that now. It's a
Everybody
wedding.
I saw had red bottoms and
Gucci.
Yeah.
and a photographer and a Bentley. I've never been in a Bentley a day of my life. And a teenage, I'm not knocking it. More power to you. All I'm saying again is priority. Priority doesn't mean number 4 is not important. It just means number 1 came first.
Mm-hmm.
I did this one first. And then we'll get to number 4, but I'm gonna do this one first. So before you ball out on the prom, go ahead and put some money to the side. I've found that if you do that on purpose, the day you get paid, if you move it, you're more likely to keep that money than if you keep it in your checking account and say, I'm gonna just leave it. And then at the end of that 2-week time, you can't wait to get paid again. Save the money first and you'll be okay.
Yeah, because essentially, I was just gonna say, it's just like when you know, on our trip, on our way to Disney World, you don't say, hey, today I want to go to Disney World, and you end up there tomorrow, right?
That's a great point.
You find a travel agent, you go buy all this stuff that you need, all these things. So you're putting together your game plan to get there. And essentially that's what we want to do, help you put together the game plan to get you into that house. And again, it's a process, right? It's step by step to get to that point. It doesn't just happen just like that. And so I tell a lot of people to stay in the middle, meaning stay neutral with this, right? Because it's a business transaction. It's not emotional. Don't get too excited. We're not going to get too low because it's real estate and anything can happen, but we're going to stay neutral in this.
So true.
I mean, just yesterday I heard a story where they were, the day of closing now, the seller called them and said, hey, somebody had stole the unit. Stole all the copper out of the house.
Wow.
Right.
My gosh.
Now, these are things that we cannot, like I said, it's real estate. So some things you cannot control. Now those people can't close. They got to delay until they figure out how to get all that copper back and the units back and all those things. So we plan for it to be the best that we can, but some things are beyond control.
Plus, you want to, again, like I said, with those obstacles are meant to be overcome.
For sure.
We don't want to. And that, because we're on a live, well, I'm assuming we talking to a lot of believers, or even if you're not, I think you can pull something from this. But more times than not, when you have an obstacle, people will tell us they'll go from God told me to buy this house to I asked him to give me a sign if I shouldn't.
Right.
And I don't know of any scenario where you will ever go and do something that will give you a status of successful and there won't be an obstacle. Whether it be a workout, you're going to put some weight on that bar. It's just going to be there. So be prepared for that. If you can get the money saved, I think great. I think that, yes, there are programs that we have, what we call, you'll see another acronym, DPA. It just stands for down payment assistance. We have access to down payment assistance programs. We have access to programs that will help you where if you say, well, man, I'm in a lower price point, I don't like those houses, the ones that I do like need work. Well, we have rehab programs. So it's called a 203K loan. So you can get a loan where we'll give you the money to purchase the property and then renovate the property. But again, that's going to require money out of pocket too.
Right.
You still have a down payment in that program. It's a great program, but you still got money down, and it's a long process. It's going to be obstacles, and you ordered windows, and it took longer than 3 weeks. And I thought I was going to, all of that is in it, but it's worth it if you want it. And it changes the game for your financial legacy, because like I said, if I sold my house today, I would profit $150,000. That's today. If I sold it today, if I put it on the market right now today, I would make that. So
because this is an investment.
Yes,
purchasing a house.
It is an asset.
It's an investment for you.
It literally changes your. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the P&L, a profit. Changes your statement. Some of the things that I would tell you, if we can complete steps 1 through 4 in a positive way. I don't know if I cut out or not, but if you can complete those steps, allow the experts to guide you. Okay. You can allow the experts to guide you. Along the way, you may we sometimes hear, well, my mom or dad or uncle he said I shouldn't do this. I should listen. I love mom and dad too. Grandma, uncle, cool. And they can be a part of the process with you. I'm perfectly fine.
One of the things I always ask is like, who's important to you that's gonna help you make a decision? Because I want to get with them too. Up front. I want to make sure that they understand that when they bought that house 30 years ago, it's not the same today.
Right.
And I try to tell them, let mama and uncle them, they can be a part of the process, but let them pray for you.
Right.
But you go to the expert with your direct question. I'm cool with them telling, hey, don't forget to think about this. And then you ask us that question. Great. But I've seen too where mom will tell them, I just wouldn't pay that much for that house. I know you may not have, but that's just what it costs today.
Inflation.
That's what it is. I don't, right. Yeah. It's just, that's a very challenging one because then that same person doesn't want to pay the house that they do want. Is like I said, it's probably going to be about $250 to give. I do this every day. So a $200,000 home today, based on what rates are today, and that can fluctuate, of course, but it's probably going to be about a $1,500 monthly payment on $200,000. On $250, it's probably going to be around $17, $18.
If not more, of taxes and insurance. Yeah.
And I'm guessing I'm middle of the road with that estimate. If the taxes and insurance come back way higher than I anticipated, which is case by case per property, then it might be higher. And on $300,000, your monthly payment probably is going to be around $2,000.
It's over $2,000.
Correct. Correct. So if you're looking on Realtor.com and you saw that house, you said, man, that's beautiful, gorgeous. How much is it? $250. Well, that's about what you need to be prepared to pay monthly.
Well, let me say this is because if you're looking on Zillow's going to give you what they think the mortgage payment is going to be, but that's based typically on you putting 20% down and they're not factoring in the taxes and the insurance.
Correct.
Your payment is made up of principal, interest, and those two are fixed. So that's never going to change.
Correct.
Taxes and insurance. Taxes can very well change based on what the city feels your home is worth and how they want you to pay those taxes. And insurance can very well change as well if the insurance company goes up. But insurance is one of those things that you can always shop around for, meaning that if your insurance goes up, because again, if taxes or insurance goes up, your payment goes up. So you can shop around for the insurance to try to get it lower to try to help bring your payment down some. But the taxes you can't change, the principal and interest, that's fixed. Okay.
That's pretty much it for my portion. I think, like she said, with the journey, once we iron out those 4 things up front, typically I'm doing those 4 things the day I talk to you, the day you submit your application. And we're going with a ping pong situation, back and forth to get us to iron out all 4 of those categories. Once I do, I'm then sending you right back to Brandi to say, hey, Brandi, they've been pre-qualified, but you still got to go through, you want to write down, I'm your originator, Brandi is your realtor. You got to deal with a processor
and an
underwriter. And then you got a closing department. You got a title company. You got a closing attorney. You got an appraiser. You got an inspector. Well, you got all of those people working on your behalf. And everything has to be in line. That's why, you may see complete radio silence for a week because I'm dealing with all of those people, on your behalf. And we're trying to orchestrate things to get you to the closing table. But to her point, great point. There's never going to be a no from our perspective. We'll never tell you no. We may tell you there's a delay. I had to wait 3 years, unfortunately. Wow. And you best believe within them 3 years, I was fighting to find something else. But I had a bankruptcy and a foreclosure and a repossession. I had to overcome those things. Yeah. And it took some time. It took some ingenuity to save money. I didn't have a down payment assistance program I qualified for. I had to pay the down payment, the closing cost. Thank God we got it, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But now I've got an asset, and I think you can do the same.
Yeah.
And it's rewarding at the
Very
end,
much so.
right?
Very much
I
so.
think once you get to that finish line, it's just, and I think we had this conversation yesterday about,
Yes.
man, like that's what we love to see, because that's what we're
Facts.
fighting so hard to get there. I worked with, I think my longest client, I met her in end of 2016, 2017, and she bought a house, Kirsten's grandmother,
Yeah.
in 2021, right?
Wow.
I held her accountable, right? Life
Mhm.
started to happen for her a little bit, but she never gave up. You know what I mean? And I kept in touch with her throughout those years, and we made sure that we did what she needed to do in order to buy that house. And then her granddaughter bought a house, and she was able to kind of help her granddaughter as well, along with Justin and I, to make her, so she can become a homeowner. I think at what, 26, 27,
Yes.
she's
Very
very young. So it's never a no. And one thing I know that we do believe is that what God has for you is for you. And in his right time too. A lot of times we get, I see a lot of times clients, the home inspection doesn't go well, or something happens to where the deal fall apart. And I'm like, hey, that wasn't meant for you. God he may have blocked something for you, or
That's right.
or you got something better on the way. You know what I mean? So that's when I say stay neutral. What's for you is for you throughout this journey. And we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna have some challenging times, but at the end of it all, we'll definitely get there, and it'll be so rewarding to be able to tell your journey and your story to someone else or to your kids later on down the line.
I totally.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the saying is delay is not denial.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of times God is protecting us from something, or maybe he has something better for you. But this was also, so there's a couple of questions. Someone mentioned something about programs. Are there programs for teachers, public servants, senior citizens, firefighters, people, clergy? Are there any programs for public servants? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Definitely. There are programs that will help depending on the profession that you have. There's even more than what you just mentioned that are there. What I can tell you is, without trying to get into each individual program, is the overall goal with the program is to help typically with your out-of-pocket costs. So I typically ask people, 3 questions, or 1 question, but with 3 categories. So what's most important to you is the question in this category. Category 1 is interest rate. Category 2 is out-of-pocket cost. And then category 3 is monthly payment. Interest rate, out-of-pocket cost, monthly payment. Of the 3, which is most important? Most everybody said, well, I want a great rate. Cool. But whichever one is most important to you will literally drive the other 2.
Right.
So if you told me interest rate is most important, I'm a rate conscious person. I want the lowest rate in town. That's always going to be relative. My first interest rate in 2013 was 3.7. My interest rate in 2020 was 2.87. But I bought during the pandemic. That was the only reasoning. Other than that, the following year they started going up, and last year they went up to 7.5.
Right.
This year they're around 6. So are you going to get a 2 point anything today? Absolutely not. I don't care what you put down. I don't care what it doesn't. Nope, not at all.
Now you can buy down the rate, but it's
even when you buy it down, there's a maximum on how much you can buy it down. So you can buy it down and say, I want to buy the rate down. We look at a rate sheet, and it tells us how many what you call points, how many points you would have to pay per purchase, which is like a discount. You're buying your discount to get that rate down. So again, in that 3 categories, if you told me rate is most important, I'm going to tell you, hey, I can get you the best rate in town. Anybody can.
Right.
But you're not going to have the best cost.
Mm-mm.
Your payment's going to be middle of the road. But if you told me out-of-pocket cost is most important to me, I don't have the $16,000 saved based on your example. Well, I'm going to tell you, hey, I can get you some programs that will help with the out-of-pocket cost, but your rate's not going to be the best.
Okay.
Be middle of the road. It's going to be okay. And I like playing cards. I don't know if you like playing cards, but I love playing spades or whiz. And it's a strategy. Everybody can, a heart was played, you play a heart, a diamond play. Okay, you can do that. But you can also start to strategize and figure out, well, what if I don't play this card yet? What will happen? Well, you can do the same thing in the mortgage world, and you can say, well, I'll take whatever rate, just get me in the home. And then when the rates drop, I'll just refinance. And when I refinance, I don't have to pay any money out of pocket.
Right.
So those are just some tricks of the trade. But to answer your question, absolutely, there are 1,001 programs out there. Programs change every day too, though. So I try to focus more on those 3 categories, and I drive you to where you want to get to based on those 3 categories.
And you may hear some people say, date the rate, marry the house.
Facts of life. That's very true.
If you love the house and the rate is higher, you just date the rate, right? Go ahead and marry the house.
Go ahead and get the house.
7%, the rates are probably going to drop. So when they drop, refinance to get the lower rate, right?
But don't miss the opportunity. Don't pass on the house.
Because now the rates, then the opposite of that is the rates go higher.
Yes, ma'am.
And now it's going to cost you more to buy that house that you love when the rate was 7%.
That's right.
Right. So is it best then to try to get, well, I guess they try to get the house first. So go ahead and try to get a lower payment, strive for a lower payment. And then, if the rates go up, or if the rates go down, then I can refinance. Is it best to try to focus on the lower mortgage payment?
Because what's happening, so when COVID hit, the rates were low, right? The rates were 2 or 3%, if not lower. But then that drove the price of the houses up, because now it's what we call the seller's market, and the seller can name the price of their house. And what most people were doing were paying thousands of dollars more than what the house was worth, because they were desperate. The rate was so good. I got to find, people going stir crazy in an apartment and all those things. But then the rate started to increase. But then the price of the house stayed the same. They're not going, the price of these homes aren't going down. Right. The prices are still the same, and the rate is still the same. So as the market tends to go up, I mean, the rate, we don't know we can't predict the rate.
Right.
But if you buy the house now because you married the house, you love the house, the rate could potentially go down. But you don't want to wait until the rates go up to 12%. I'm just throwing numbers out there. And now you really can't buy that house, because what we saw a lot was that people who qualified for a $250,000 house at 2% interest rate, but they never found anything because they kept getting beat out from all these cash buyers and these people going 50 and 60,000 over. Then the rate started to increase. And then now their buying power goes down, starts to decrease. And now they can only afford $150,000 house. And now they can't find that $150,000 house because it's in an area where they don't want to be, right? Or it needs a lot of work. So, you may hear a lot of people say, don't buy a house right now because the rate, but
I definitely don't subscribe to that.
No,
I don't subscribe to that at all, because if you one of those that watch a lot of stuff on news or TV or notifications, you'll get a lot of people that try to predict what's going to happen with the rates and what's going to happen with the market. If you want to subscribe to that, by all means. I don't, and I'm in the industry, and the reason I don't is they're never right until they right, and they only right because it's just gonna happen when it happens.
Right.
And when it happens, let's say the rates drop tomorrow, I do not know why most people think that the sale prices will also drop.
They're not.
They're not.
Right.
They're probably gonna stay the same or go higher.
Or go higher.
Like they did in
now
2020.
everybody's gonna want to buy a house. You just heard Justin say he bought his house in 21.
Yeah.
And today it's worth $150,000 more in just 2 years later. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's what should drive you. That equity, that what I mean?
Right.
$150,000 more in 2 years.
Right.
It's crazy.
So I just tell people to go ahead and purchase. When you run into a brick wall of but I don't like the property that I qualify for, I want to qualify for more. The remedy most people have chosen is, well, I'm gonna just wait. Okay, that's one option. I don't think that that's a viable solution. I think a better option may be fight for better employment, fight for better income. My mentor told me a long time ago, the value of your participation is worth something. If you don't know what it is, shame on you. If you know what it is and don't accept what you're worth, shame on you. There's absolutely no reason for you to accept less than what you're worth. There's no reason for it. Most companies will actually pay you more to do the same job just because you're great talent. Okay. And if the current company you're with won't do it, go across the street. They probably will. And if they don't, add an attribute to yourself. Learn a trade, get a certification for something, add that to your name, and then okay, now what will you pay? You know what I mean? And then get more, and then we'll get there.
And not only that, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, this first house you buy is not going to be your forever home, right? So you're buying this house, and it may not be in the area, it may not be everything, it may need some paint, some carpet, and all those things. But the statistic says that most people are only going to live in that house, their first house, 3 to 5 years, right? You know, not much longer after that. And then now what you do is you rent it out. Right? You can rent it out, and now you got income coming in, and then you can still go buy your second house. Now you got an investment property, right? You know what I mean? So like, let's change the narrative on some of these things, on how we look at it, and then we'll be better off in the end for sure. You got any more questions? I know we kind of.
I know. I mean, this is so good. This great information really is. So I had another question. What are some things, Justin, that you've seen people had to clean up? Or like there's some things you like, I guess the popular things, like maybe it's, paying off debt or whatever. What are some things that you see people really need to change, like your top 5 or whatever you've seen?
Student loans.
Yeah. Number one would probably be student loans.
That's what I was going to ask you. So if they're in forbearance, do they still count that as, okay.
Depending on the time. So there's a forbearance rule. So you got to remember, so the processor and those people that I said were involved in the transaction, the processor and your originator, we're kind of like your lawyer, your defense attorney. We're pleading your case. We're pleading that case to the underwriter, and the underwriter is kind of like the judge. And they're basically judging your file against the law. The law is already preset and determined since 2008 when the real estate market crashed. They regulated the mortgage industry to rules and regulations. That's why we have those programs. So each program will dictate what you can and cannot do, what your picture can and cannot look like. So when it comes to student loans, there's a different answer on a conventional loan than a FHA loan. So typically, though, the student loan rule is whatever your monthly payment is, we will add that to your debt to income ratio. If the payment is deferred, so you'll see on your credit report, it'll say $100,000 balance, 0 payment. Okay, well, we will say, yeah, we'll accept the 0 payment, but we need details. How long will it be 0? The rule is it can be if the student loan department says your deferment will last for 12 months past the closing date, we can omit that payment. But we don't know when you're going to close. You haven't found a house yet.
Right.
It may take you 3 months to find that house because you Brandi found you everything you said you wanted, but the backyard just ain't quite flat enough.
Right.
At bedroom, the closet, I got a lot of Louis bags. I need a big okay, we're gonna get you what you want now, but that might take a little bit more hunting. So now what I've seen is, the federal government has most of them are deferred anyway, but it's ending in it ends in like October or something.
Right.
So
exactly.
Sometimes they'll allow you to extend it, but you can't control that. So what a lot of people do is try to get on an IDR, or IBR is just an acronym for income driven repayment plan. And that typically they'll accept a lower payment, but we need, again, like we said before, you got to prove your work. So we need documentation for it. And a lot of times I like to do that up front. Now, you don't have to do this to get pre-approved technically with some lenders, but if you rocking with me, I like to do a lot of this legwork up front so you don't have so many come to find out scenarios later on down the road. Let's figure that out up front. Let's
Yeah,
go ahead
exactly.
and get that documentation. So that would be the top one. The next one would unfortunately be late payments.
Okay.
There's a schematic or a matrix or a guideline for late payments too. You can have a certain amount within a certain time frame, but I just say don't have any. Pay the people back.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for you to tell me you're gonna pay me back, and then I see you ain't paid
Right.
James and John and Jim. You ain't paid them back. So
Right.
don't have the late payments. And then the third one would probably be repossessions. I would say it's the third one. The other, I know you said 5. The other 2 are kind of interchangeable. You would be surprised what you kind of see. I think my scenario personally was one of the worst. I had, in the industry, the big 2, oh my God, situations where some lenders will literally just, man, Brandi, why you sent me them? That's really what I got a lot of times when I was applying. But I had a bankruptcy and I had a foreclosure. Typically, the bankruptcy rule is from the date of discharge, you have to wait 4 years.
It's 4 too.
It's 4 for conventional. For FHA, it's 2.
Okay.
Okay.
There are exceptions to that rule. I'm not going to talk about them.
All right.
Everybody's going to want to try to fit into the exception.
Right.
If you got a unique scenario, call me.
Okay.
If not, let's do what we got to do to fix it. Let's do what we got to do to get our stuff in order, because you typically going to need down payment money when you got that going on. Foreclosures is 4 years. There are every now and then there are some programs that will accept 3, but typically it's 4. And then there are some programs that you could have filed bankruptcy last month and we can get you into a house this month, but it ain't gonna be cheap.
Right. And the
You're
interest
gonna pay a lot of money. Well, just a lot of out of pocket. You're gonna pay a lot of out of pocket money. So my scenario, having all of that, I had the late payments, I had the bankruptcy, the foreclosure, the repossessions, medical bills. I even had a delinquent student loan. If you have a delinquent student loan, typically it's gonna mean a CAIVRS number is applied to your file. CAIVRS is CAIVRS. It's an acronym. And that's what the federal government is essentially saying. You have a delinquent federal debt. And so because of that, you cannot receive any federal lending until you get that caught up. Well, all of your federally funded programs are FHA, USDA, and VA. So you won't even qualify for the loan until you get that out of the delinquency status, which means you either need to pay the balance of that student loan, or you need to set up a payment arrangement and show that you've made, I think it's 6 consecutive payments. They may have recently changed it to 3.
Okay.
So for me, when I bought that house in September, I did have a delinquent student loan that I did not know about. I know they didn't believe me, but I really didn't know about
I'm sitting here looking at
I did not know, because I thought my mom worked at UAB. And so I went to school for half off. So, but I was a knucklehead. So I lost my privileges and I ended up having to pay full price. And I didn't realize it went to full price. So I thought I paid the rest of it out of pocket. This was in 2006, 2007. I bought the house in 20. I thought I paid. Well, evidently I did not.
Right.
It was $7,000, and I had to pay that $7,000. Tim Harris was my lender, and he told me, "Hey, bro, I wanted to help you. We was gonna close in 2 weeks, but this popped up. You gotta pay it or do that." He said, "We may just want to tell the seller, no for right now, and unfortunately, we got to move on and then make those payments, man." He was just trying to let me down easy.
Right.
Determined, and I'm a believer, so I talked to God about it, and I literally had a check in the mail, literally, and paid the $7,000.
Wow.
We had 15 more obstacles after that, but
you made it.
We made it. We got I've been living in the house 3 years now. So that's to answer your question. Those would be the top 3. There are things you can do to overcome it. You need to let us know up front.
And just to add to that though, because a lot of times we see people don't have a bank account. You definitely want to have a bank account.
Please.
Red, green dot, chime, all those things aren't true bank accounts.
And they're not favorable.
Yeah, they're not favorable. So we want to make sure that you open up a bank account.
All right, real quick. If Big Mama wants to give me $5,000 on my house, is that okay?
That's
That's
a loaded question. So
really,
what I would say do is before I wish everybody was in here. I could hear y'all repeat after me. Say before.
I do it for them. Before.
Before Big Mama give it to you, ask me about it. So you can give me the details. Because there's a case-by-case answer to that. Sometimes it's gonna be yes, and it's not a problem. It depends on the reasoning why she's giving it to you, what we're gonna use it for, how she gives it to you. I got to get a copy of Big Mama's statement. And Big Mama don't want me to, I don't want her to know how much I got.
Right. Because Big Mama don't want you on her business.
Big Mama, send it to me. Don't send it to her. She don't need to know. Just send it direct. But and it can't be redacted. She didn't crossed it off and sent me just one little screenshot. I know how we do, but we can't.
But essentially, you know, somebody that's an immediate family member can gift you funds.
Absolutely.
But they are gonna have to provide, like you said, their bank statements to show that they have the money available to do that. And they have to be what, grandmother, mother,
literally family member.
Yeah.
And then they got, that's right now. Hey, I don't have nothing to do with that. But I just know I need to see it up front. I need to see it before you even do it. Because then I can guide you on, hey, I'll need 1, 2, 3 from, because again, it's back to that. You told me the answer was 72, but I need you to prove it. And you got to prove it with documentation. I need a paper trail.
And Lady Pam, I want to say this as far as documents are concerned that people will need when they get ready to go to Justin, that he's going to need to back that up. I don't know if you talked about that, but
I did not.
2 years W-2. So your 2 most recent year W-2s, your 30 days most recent pay stub.
Correct.
And then 3 months bank statement. What, 2 to 3 months?
2 months bank statements.
All pages, nothing blacked out. So if the bank statement says 1 of 9, but 9 is a blank page,
they want all of it.
So those are the 3 documents that you'll need to start off. But essentially you may have to provide you'll have to update those documents as time go on so that they can still see the consistency in your employment as well as your bank account as well. So
and we'll need those things. Like, even if, again, I would love to earn your business. If you choose to go with a different lender, when you apply, there's a pre-approval status where you just apply, we pulled your credit, and it's called stated income, and I can give you a pre-approval. If you go through that process and you go with someone else, tell them too, hey, listen, this is what I have going on. Will you need any documentation? Hey, I have student loans. Will you need documentation? They may, because they're not required to. I just like to ask for it because I know what we're trying to get to. I almost don't care about the pre-approval letter. I really don't. Because the goal is not pre-approval. The goal is keys to your new home.
Right.
We want to get you in your home, and to get there, those are things we got to do. So even if you don't use me, make sure you're furnishing over all of that information. Because I guarantee you the underwriter is going to comb through everything.
For sure, because what happens up front initially is a pre-qualification or pre-approval, if you will. You can use those words interchangeably. But then what happens once they collect him as the loan originator and the processor collects that package, put that picture together and gives that file to the underwriter, what we want is a conditional approval.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and not a denial. So they're doing all the upfront stuff to make sure that we get that conditional approval, meaning that you did not get denied. We just need a couple more documents in order for us to get the final approval, or what we call a clear to close.
Because a pre-approval does not mean at the apartment
at all.
You're not done yet.
We still got some hurdles to get there.
Pre-approval. I wouldn't start packing up. I honestly wouldn't pack up till you get the keys to the house. But
no. I mean, some people are in a situation where they got to give a notice.
I know, but Lord,
I just tell people to wait till we get past the home inspection. Once we get past that home inspection, we know that appraisal, we've done our due diligence a little bit more to know that, hey, the appraisal, once we get past that inspection or appraisal hurdle, now you can, hopefully.
Man, y'all, this was so good. I know we went over our time, but this was really good information. So people are watching, please go ahead and tell others how they can contact you. They say, look, I need some help. I need some guidance. Justin, we'll start with you first. How can they contact you? Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, website, phone number?
So,
or do you contact Brandi first?
Okay, so
a story Yeah, tell the story.
No. I was gonna give him your number. Because I really want you to talk to your realtor first. I really want you to get a clearer picture of where we've been trying to go. Now, you can of course start with me. My first name Justin, last name Lyles, Lyles. You can search for me on social. I think my Instagram, I'm not old, but I kind of act old, so I don't really be on there like that. But my Instagram, I think, is motivate_own_repeat.
On OWN or okay.
OWN.
Yeah, okay.
My I don't even know what is my phone number.
Oh my goodness.
He is old.
Oh, here we go. 205
Okay.
539 1062.
Okay.
And my email, if you can't get me there, my email is my name, Justin .Lyles, Lyles @rate.com.
Okay. I'm gonna go back and put these in the our sites as well. And then Brandi, I know
Yeah.
Instagram, you're the relationship realtor.
It's me. I love building relationships. But I think I was gonna say this one thing that Justin and I do very well together. When we do get a new client, we like to jump on a call together to make sure that we are all on the same page as it relates to the game plan, how we need to hold each other accountable, such things like that. But so if you reach out to me first and you want to, you're going to work with Justin, I'll make sure that, like I said, we're all on that same page accordingly. But my direct sale number is 205-739-3574. Instagram is Brandi_, and that's Brandi with an I _, the relationship realtor. Facebook is just my personal page. It's just Brandi Feagin, F as in Frank, EAGIN. And my website is poshrealtyco.com. So that's POSHREALTYCO.com. TikTok, no, I'm just kidding.
I'm really old. I'm really not on TikTok like I should be, but guys, this was awesome. This was great. So listen, everyone, make sure you reach out to Brandi and Justin. I'm not going to go through a whole list of announcements, but join us next week because once you get the house, you have to keep it clean. And so we have Jessica Carmack. She's going to be talking to us about some spring cleaning tips, or before you move out of your house, you need to learn how to just spruce stuff up. So I'm excited about her coming on, giving us some spring cleaning tips. Don't forget, people, register for the Spiritual Renewal Retreat. That's June the 23rd and 24th. Go to our website, bhmbc.org, and you can see all of our announcements there as well. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate your patience. Thank you for all the information. This was so needed and so helpful. We're going to have y'all back again. So we appreciate it. Thank y'all so much. So I need everybody who's watching.
Thank you, Justin, for joining me.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day. Listen, everyone, make sure you reach out to them. Do it today. Don't forget, they can answer all your questions. It's such a phenomenal job. So thank you, guys. Y'all have a great day, and we really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, y'all.
All right. Bye-bye.